No one on that flight expected the richest man in the country to give up his privacy, let alone his pride. But what happened at 37,000 feet would become one of the most talked about stories of the year. When a tired, poorly dressed woman boarded first class holding a baby in one arm and a worn-out diaper bag in the other, passengers began whispering. Some rolled their eyes. Others turned away. But one man didn't. He watched silently, with a gaze that hid more than it revealed. Her name was Lily. A single mom from a small town, exhausted from working 3 jobs, and running on nothing but hope and borrowed time. Her baby, Noah, was barely a year old. She hadn't slept in 2 nights. Her ticket? A miracle, granted by a kind stranger at the airport counter who bumped her up to first class after seeing her in tears. She didn't know why. She didn't question it. She was just grateful. Lily shuffled down the aisle, scanning the luxurious seats, feeling completely out of place. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her shoes scuffed. Her hair pulled into a messy bun. And yet, as she reached seat 3A, she whispered to her baby, "We made it, sweetie. Just hold on a little longer." She collapsed into the seat and cradled Noah, who began to cry softly. Passengers sighed in annoyance. But the man next to her didn't move a muscle. He just watched. That man? Daniel Kingsley. Billionaire. CEO of a global real estate empire. The kind of man who usually traveled with private security and champagne, not crying infants and sleep-deprived strangers. Known for his sharp mind and colder heart, Daniel was on that flight for business, heading to a board meeting that could mean billions. He didn't plan on talking. He didn't plan on caring. But something shifted when Lily dozed off, her head gently falling onto his shoulder. At first, Daniel stiffened. His bodyguard, seated a few rows back, noticed and started to rise, but Daniel raised a quiet hand. "Let her sleep," he muttered. The flight attendant glanced nervously. "Mr. Kingsley, would you prefer another seat?" "No," he said, eyes fixed on the small child whose tiny fingers clutched his mother's coat. "She's fine." Lily didn't know she was leaning against one of the richest, most powerful men alive. She didn't know that the warmth she felt on her cheek was the custom-made jacket of a man who rarely let anyone that close. She only knew that, for the first time in days, she felt safe. Passengers whispered. Some pulled out their phones, taking discreet photos. "Is that Daniel Kingsley?" someone murmured. "And who's the woman?" No one knew. But Daniel didn't care. He stared out the window, his mind far from the clouds. Then Noah let out a small cough. Daniel turned his head. The baby's cheeks were flushed. "He's burning up," he said quietly, signaling the flight attendant. "Get the medic kit. Now." The woman nodded, hurrying down the aisle. Daniel gently adjusted Lily's arm, checking the baby's forehead with the back of his hand. His voice, usually commanding and cold in meetings worth millions, was now soft. "He has a fever." And that's when Lily stirred. Confused. Disoriented. She blinked, realizing she'd fallen asleep on a stranger. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, pulling away in embarrassment. Her eyes widened when she saw who she had leaned on. "Oh my God, you're..." "I didn't mean..." Daniel interrupted. "Your son needs help. Stay calm. We'll get him what he needs." Lily's face went pale. "Noah, he's been coughing. I thought it was just exhaustion. I don't have insurance, I can't afford." "You don't need money," Daniel said firmly. "Not right now." But what Lily didn't know was that this billionaire, this man she just accidentally leaned on, had once lost someone who looked exactly like her. And he was about to do something that would leave the entire world speechless. Before we dive deeper into this journey, if you enjoy stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from. We love hearing your stories too. Lily clutched Noah tightly, her heart pounding as the flight attendant returned with the first aid kit. Daniel stepped aside, letting the crew do their job, but his eyes never left the child. His expression was unreadable, somewhere between concern and something deeper. Something he hadn't felt in years. As they checked Noah's vitals, Lily whispered soft prayers, rocking gently, tears brimming in her eyes. "Please, baby, just hold on." The flight attendant glanced up at Daniel. "His fever's high, but his breathing is stable. We'll need a doctor once we land." "I'll arrange it," he said, already pulling out his phone. Lily looked at him, her voice shaky. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." Daniel hesitated. "You remind me of someone I once failed." Lily didn't press further. She was too tired, too overwhelmed. The luxury around her, the soft leather seats, the quiet hum of wealth, felt like a dream she didn't belong in. But Daniel kept his distance, not out of arrogance, but respect. He saw the pride in her eyes, the kind that wouldn't ask for help even when drowning. They sat in silence for a moment, interrupted only by Noah's soft whimpering. Then, Lily did something unexpected. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small photo, bent at the corners, slightly faded. "This is Noah's dad," she said quietly. "He passed away before Noah was born. Construction accident. No life insurance. We lost everything." Daniel studied the photo. A young man, smiling wide, covered in dust and sweat. Honest. Humble. Gone. "I'm sorry," he said, and he meant it. Lily nodded. "I tried moving back in with my mother, but she's sick. I've been working nights at a diner, and mornings at a daycare. This trip. I'm heading to an interview. If I get the job, it could change everything." Daniel leaned back in his seat, staring at the ceiling. "You're carrying too much on your own." "I don't have a choice," Lily replied. "When you're poor, no one waits for you. You either keep moving, or you disappear." Daniel closed his eyes. Her words hit harder than she could have known. Years ago, before the wealth, before the press, Daniel had watched someone close to him break under that same pressure. His sister, Mia. A single mom too, who had died in a cold hospital waiting for a doctor who never came, because she didn't have the right insurance card. He'd built his empire after that. Brick by brick. Deal by deal. But in all his millions, he'd never been able to buy back the time he lost with her. The pilot's voice echoed through the cabin. "We'll be landing shortly. Please remain seated." Daniel stood up and walked to the front. Lily watched, unsure what to expect. When he returned, he handed her a card. "What's this?" she asked. "A hotel reservation. For a week. Fully paid. You and your son need rest before your interview." Lily shook her head. "I can't accept that. You're not accepting charity," Daniel interrupted. "You're accepting a moment to breathe." She looked at the card, her hands trembling. The hotel was one of the most luxurious in the city, owned by Daniel's company. "Why would you do this for me?" Daniel's answer was simple. "Because someone once didn't. And I've regretted it ever since." As the plane touched down, passengers peered at them with curiosity. Some with judgment, others with quiet admiration. But Lily didn't care. She looked down at Noah, who was now sleeping peacefully, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Outside, Daniel's personal car was already waiting. He opened the door for Lily himself, ignoring the stares from onlookers. She paused before stepping in, her voice barely a whisper. "You don't even know me." Daniel looked at her, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. "I know enough." What Lily didn't know was that the hotel suite she was about to enter would hold more than comfort. It would hold the key to a secret Daniel had kept hidden for over a decade. The elevator doors opened to the top floor of the hotel, revealing a penthouse suite larger than any place Lily had ever lived. The ceilings were high, the windows stretched wall to wall, and the city lights flickered like stars beneath them. Lily stood frozen, Noah still in her arms, unsure if she should step forward. Every detail, the marble floors, the gold accents, the scent of fresh linen, felt like a life meant for someone else. A hotel manager greeted her with a warm smile. "Miss Lily, welcome. Everything has been arranged for your stay. If you need anything, just press this button here." He gestured to a sleek panel near the entrance. "I think there's been a mistake," she said, voice small. I can't afford." "No mistake," the manager said kindly. "Mr. Kingsley left strict instructions. He also had this delivered." He handed her a white envelope with her name written in graceful cursive. She opened it slowly, revealing a handwritten note. "For when you're ready to stop surviving and start living. You deserve that much. DK." Her throat tightened. She sat on the edge of the bed, sinking into sheets softer than clouds. Noah stirred slightly, then curled into her side. Tears welled up in her eyes. Not because of the luxury. Not because of the comfort. But because for the first time, someone saw her. Really saw her. The next morning, Lily woke to a soft knock at the door. It was a delivery, fresh breakfast, formula for Noah, a new baby stroller, and even a pressed outfit for her interview. She stared at the items in disbelief. "How did he know my size?" she whispered. She stepped into the bathroom and caught her reflection. She barely recognized the woman in the mirror. Rested. Clean. Stronger. That afternoon, Lily walked into her interview with confidence. The position was for a project coordinator at a nonprofit that built homes for low-income families. She answered every question with honesty, backed by years of experience that had never been recognized. When the interview ended, the director smiled. "You have something we can't teach, Grit. You're exactly what we need." Lily left the building beaming. She held Noah close and spun once on the sidewalk, laughing. She didn't notice the black SUV parked across the street. Inside it, Daniel sat watching through tinted windows, silently satisfied. But Daniel wasn't done. Back at his office, Daniel pulled out a small worn box from a drawer no one was allowed to open. Inside was a photo, his sister Mia, holding her newborn, smiling despite the pain in her eyes. The resemblance between Mia and Lily was undeniable. The same fire. The same strength masked by struggle. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. "It can't be," he whispered. He picked up his phone and dialed. "Get me everything you can on Lily Thompson. Where she's from, who her parents were. Everything." Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Lily tucked Noah in for a nap. She sat by the window, gazing out at the skyline, unaware that her life was about to shift again. Because buried in her past, hidden behind years of pain and poverty, was a connection that neither she nor Daniel had ever imagined. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel received the first file. He scanned quickly, birth records, family names, locations. Then he saw it. A name that turned his blood cold. Mary Ellen Thompson, sister of Mia Kingsley. His hands trembled. Lily wasn't just a stranger. She was family. He stood up, heart racing, staring out at the same skyline Lily admired only miles away. She was his niece. And she had no idea. Daniel couldn't breathe. The name on the screen stared back at him like a ghost. Mary Ellen Thompson, his late sister's full name. It had been years since he'd spoken it aloud. Mia had vanished from his world when she chose a different path, when she walked away from the glittering empire Daniel had started building, refusing to be a part of a life built on cold boardrooms and billion-dollar transactions. And now, after all this time, here was her daughter. Lily. Not just a stranger on a flight, not just a struggling single mom, but family. He leaned against the edge of his desk, trying to steady himself. For a man who had built skyscrapers, closed deals with the world's richest elites, and weathered corporate storms, nothing had ever shaken him like this. Not because of money. Not because of reputation. But because in his pursuit of fortune, he had lost the only person who had loved him without conditions. And somehow, he had found her again, through Lily. He could have told her immediately. Cold. Sent a car. Walked into her suite with the truth. But something held him back. Fear. Guilt. The weight of years lost. Meanwhile, Lily was getting ready to leave the hotel. Her interview behind her, she now felt something foreign, momentum. She'd received a call from the nonprofit that evening. "We'd like to offer you the position. Full-time. Benefits. Childcare assistance included." Lily dropped to her knees, clutching Noah. "We did it, baby," she whispered. "We actually did it." The concierge delivered another envelope to her door. This time, it wasn't from Daniel. It was a formal invitation, an exclusive charity gala hosted by Kingsley Enterprises. Inside was a handwritten note. "You've inspired me more than you know. I'd be honored if you came. Bring Noah. D." She stared at the elegant gold lettering, unsure. "What would I even wear to something like this?" she murmured. But as if reading her mind, the doorbell rang again. A delivery. Inside the box was a gown in soft navy blue, perfectly tailored, and a tiny tuxedo for Noah. She held the fabric to her chest, overwhelmed. "Who are you, Daniel Kingsley?" That night, As the gala lights glittered through the tall ballroom windows, Lily stepped out of the car like she belonged. Gasps and whispers followed her entry, not because of her past, but because of her presence. Radiant. Poised. She held Noah proudly on her hip, and together, they turned heads. Daniel spotted her from across the room. He wasn't dressed like a billionaire tonight. No designer tie. No boardroom coldness. Just a man in a quiet black suit, carrying a truth too big to keep inside. He approached slowly. "You came." "I almost didn't," she said. "But something told me. I needed to." Daniel looked at her, eyes heavy with emotion. "There's something I need to tell you." She tilted her head, curious. "What is it?" "I've been looking for someone for a very long time," he began. "My sister. She left years ago. She had a child. I didn't know until recently. That child was you, Lily." Silence. Lily blinked. "What are you saying?" "I'm your uncle," he said softly. "Your mother, Mia, was my sister." Lily's breath caught. Her knees nearly buckled, but Daniel steadied her. "No," she whispered. "No, that can't be. I didn't know on the flight. I swear to you," he said. "But once I found out, everything made sense. Why I couldn't look away. Why helping you felt like something I had to do." Lily stepped back, tears rising. "You're telling me, all this time I had family?" "You had me," Daniel said. "And you still do." She clutched Noah close, emotion spiraling, joy, shock, grief. Because for every sleepless night, every unpaid bill, every moment she felt alone, there had been a man in a tower, searching for redemption. Searching for her. Lily sat on a velvet bench outside the gala hall, her hands shaking. The music faded behind the heavy double doors, and the noise of the crowd became a distant hum. Noah slept in her arms, peaceful and unaware that the world around him had just shifted. Her mind raced with questions she couldn't yet form into words. How could this be real? Why hadn't she known? And what did it mean for her future? Daniel stood nearby, giving her space but unable to look away. He watched her carefully, the same way he used to watch Mia when she was overwhelmed, allowing her to find her own rhythm, but ready to step in the second she needed him. "I know it's a lot," he said gently. "I didn't want to drop this on you all at once, but I couldn't lie to you either. Not anymore." Lily looked up slowly. "My mother never told me she had a brother." Daniel nodded. "She didn't want to be part of the world I was building. Said money changes people. She was right. I got lost in wealth, power, control. And by the time I tried to fix things, she was gone. I searched for her, for you. But I had no idea you even existed until that flight." Lily stared down at her lap. "We lived in a small trailer outside of Kansas City. My mom got sick when I was 13. I watched her fade away without help, without options. No doctors. No support. I dropped out of school to work. She never talked about her past, only said we didn't need anyone else." Daniel's jaw clenched. "She should have had more. You should have had more. I can never undo the pain she went through, or what you've endured. But I can be here now. If you'll let me." Lily's eyes searched his face. She didn't see the billionaire. Not the cold CEO. She saw something else, a man carrying guilt, quietly desperate for connection. "You're really my uncle?" Daniel pulled a small photo from his wallet, the same one from the box in his office. Mia, young and glowing, holding a baby with messy dark curls. "That's your mom. That baby's you." Her breath hitched. She hadn't seen that picture in years. Her mom used to keep it in a drawer hidden, saying it was all that remained of another life. Lily touched the edges of the photo, and for a moment, her walls crumbled. "I believe you," she whispered. "But I don't know what to do with this. I've spent my whole life surviving. Now everything's different." Daniel knelt in front of her, eye level. "Then let's take it one step at a time. No pressure. No obligations. Just, start with dinner tomorrow. You, me, and Noah." Lily gave a shaky laugh. "You're a billionaire, and you're asking for dinner like a regular person?" Daniel smiled. "It's my turn to learn how to be human again." Back in the suite that night, Lily stared at the city lights, heart pounding with a strange mix of fear and hope. She wasn't alone anymore. But could she really trust this new life? Daniel, in his own apartment across the city, called his attorney. "I want to update my will. Effective immediately. I have a new heir." He paused, then added, "And no more shareholders controlling the charity branch. I'm creating something else. A foundation, in Mia's name. To help women like Lily. To honor the ones we've lost, and the ones we found again." The next morning, a knock came at Lily's door. Not from Daniel, but from a journalist. A young woman with a press badge and a camera crew behind her. "Sorry to bother you," she said cautiously, "but is it true that you're the niece of Daniel Kingsley?" Lily froze. Because what had started as a chance encounter was now a national story. Lily didn't answer right away. She clutched Noah tighter as the reporter's question echoed in the hallway. "Is it true that you're Daniel Kingsley's niece?" Behind the journalist, the hotel security staff rushed to intervene, asking the crew to leave. But it was too late. A flash went off. Then another. The door hadn't even closed yet when the story exploded online. Across social media, headlines spread like wildfire. Billionaire CEO discovers secret niece on flight. Poor mom connected to Kingsley fortune. Heir found in the skies. Pictures from the gala showed Lily in her navy blue gown holding Noah, standing beside Daniel. The internet did what it always does. It filled the gaps with assumptions, speculation, and cruel commentary. Back in his office, Daniel was already on the phone with his PR team. "Contain it," he ordered. "Protect her and the child. I want every article that publishes her personal history taken down." "Sir, it's too late," one assistant responded. "It's already viral. Trending worldwide." Daniel's hand tightened around the edge of his desk. He had meant to give Lily space, time, and dignity. Now the world had yanked her into the spotlight like a circus act, flashing headlines about poverty to fortune, single motherhood to royalty. But this wasn't a fairy tale. It was a woman's life. A child's safety. And Daniel wasn't going to let it spiral. Lily sat on the hotel bed, her phone buzzing non-stop. Calls from unknown numbers. Interview requests. Even distant relatives she'd never heard of trying to reconnect. It was all too much. Too fast. Too loud. She turned off the phone and buried her face in her hands. Daniel arrived minutes later, unannounced. "I'm so sorry," he said as soon as she opened the door. "I should have seen this coming. I should have protected you." She stared at him, eyes red. "I didn't ask for this." "I know," he said. "And I swear, I'm going to fix it." "How?" "They've turned me into a headline. A hashtag. I'm not a story, Daniel. I'm a person." His voice softened. "Then let's take the story back." Later that day, they sat in a private studio, just the two of them, no flashing lights, no makeup team. Daniel arranged for Lily to speak on her own terms, recording a message not for gossip, but for truth. She looked into the camera, raw and real. "I'm not looking for fame. I didn't chase wealth. I've worked hard every single day of my life. I've failed, I've cried, I've lost. And now, by some twist of fate, I found out I have family. Real family. I'm not here to take anyone's fortune. I just want a life where my son doesn't go to bed hungry. That's all I've ever wanted." The video went live an hour later. And it changed everything. People began to see the heart behind the headlines. Comments flooded in, not of ridicule, but support. Women who saw themselves in Lily. Single mothers, young parents, even former strangers who had once been poor and invisible. She had become a symbol, not of sudden wealth, but of quiet resilience. Daniel watched the video from his office, tears in his eyes. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man made of steel and stone. He felt human. But the greatest change was still to come. That evening, Daniel handed Lily a sealed envelope. "This isn't a gift," he said. "It's a choice." Inside was the deed to a modest home near one of Kingsley's private estates. Fully paid. Quiet. Safe. With a garden for Noah. "I built towers all my life," Daniel said, "but I never built a home. This one's yours. If you want it." Lily stared at the papers, speechless. All her life, she'd fought to belong. To be safe. To be seen. And now, for the first time, someone wasn't just offering her money. They were offering her peace. She nodded slowly, tears falling freely. "Thank you, Uncle Daniel." And in that moment, wealth meant nothing, but family meant everything. Months passed. The media frenzy faded, the headlines moved on, and the world, so quick to point, judge, and forget, quieted. But for Lily, life had only just begun. The modest house Daniel gifted her became a sanctuary. A small white cottage with ivy crawling up the sides, a swing set in the backyard, and a little garden where Noah would giggle and crawl between rows of tomatoes and flowers. It wasn't a palace. It wasn't dripping in gold. But it was theirs. Every morning, Lily walked Noah to a local daycare while she headed to the nonprofit. She'd taken the job Daniel once thought was just a stepping stone, and turned it into a purpose. She wasn't just working anymore, she was leading. Creating programs for struggling single parents, connecting them with housing, food security, and hope. "If no one opens the door for you," she told a group one afternoon, "build your own." Daniel watched her grow with quiet pride. He visited often, but never imposed. He didn't come as a CEO or a billionaire, but as family. He brought books for Noah, helped paint the nursery walls, and on Sunday mornings, joined them for pancakes at the corner diner, where no one cared about his last name or his fortune. One crisp autumn afternoon, they stood together in a quiet park, looking at the bronze plaque freshly installed beneath an oak tree. It read, "The Mia Foundation, in honor of the ones who carried everything and asked for nothing." Lily ran her fingers over the words, her voice barely a whisper. "She would have been proud of you." Daniel stared at the plaque. "I hope so. I think about her every day. How much I missed. How much I failed her. But you brought her back to me. In every way that matters." Lily smiled. "Then maybe we both got a second chance." Daniel nodded. "Not everyone gets one. But when they do, they need to take it. Own it. Live it." Weeks later, Daniel stood on stage at a global summit. Billionaires, tech giants, and world leaders watched as he made an announcement that stunned them all. "I'm redirecting 30% of my personal fortune, yes, billions, to the Mia Foundation. To fund housing, education, and healthcare for women like my sister and my niece. Money without compassion is just a number. But when you pair wealth with humanity, that's when lives change." Applause erupted. But for Daniel, the only smile that mattered was the one waiting at home, the one that belonged to a young woman who had once leaned on his shoulder in exhaustion, not knowing that her entire world was about to change. Back at the cottage that night, Lily tucked Noah into bed. He looked up sleepily and asked, "Is Uncle Daniel coming tomorrow?" She kissed his forehead. He never really left. Outside the window, the garden rustled in the wind, filled with new life. The world hadn't handed Lily riches. It hadn't handed her shortcuts. But it had given her something far rarer: connection. Family. The kind of wealth no fortune could ever buy. And as the stars lit up the night sky, one truth settled quietly in her heart, a truth born not in the sky, or in boardrooms, but in a moment of shared humanity. Sometimes, all it takes is one act of compassion to rewrite an entire legacy. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, share this video and tell us in the comments, what part of this journey moved you the most? There's another story waiting for you, and it might just change the way you see the world. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon.